Hi, and thank you for joining me for this video. So what we have here is the Naturehike CW700 4-season sleeping bag. This is the upgraded version of the very popular Naturehike CW400 sleeping bag, which I've already done a video on. So if you haven't seen that video, definitely go back and watch that video, because that CW400 sleeping bag might be the sleeping bag for you. But in saying that, let's have a good look at this upgraded version. So this sleeping bag comes in a choice of two sizes. It comes in a medium and it also comes in a large. Now I will tell you what the differences are between the medium and the large size. Now when it comes to the price of the sleeping bag, here in the UK you can buy the medium or the large size for between 160 and 170 pound. And I have noticed that there is normally only a £10 difference between both the sizes, so that's not too bad. You can also get this sleeping bag in a choice of colors. You can either go for it in a grey and a yellow, or you can go for it in a black and a blue, or you can get it in a yellow and grey. I have to say though, the yellow and the grey one doesn't always seem to be readily available. Now your sleeping bag will come in this compression bag. It's a nice compression bag. It's well made. Now if you go for the medium sleeping bag, the length of the compression bag will come in at around 42 centimeters, and then the width will come in at around 20 centimeters. If you go for the large sleeping bag, the compression bag, the length will come in at 42 centimeters and the width will come in at around 22 centimeters. So there is only a 2 centimeter difference in width between the medium and the large sleeping bag. When it comes to the packed weight, the medium sleeping bag will come in at around 1,074 grams. And then if you go for the large sleeping bag, it'll come in at around 1,314 grams. So there's about a 240 gram difference between the medium and the large. Now, before we have a good look at the sleeping bag, I just want to mention, apart from the compression bag that you get to store your sleeping bag in, you also get a little storage case or storage net, whatever you want to call it. And this is designed to keep your sleeping bag in when you're not using it. Because what this does, it helps keep your sleeping bag lofted, which in turn helps protect the down in the sleeping bag. The problem you get, which people sometimes don't know, is if you keep a down sleeping bag compressed for too long, it can start damaging the down inside your sleeping bag, and that in turn would start creating cold spots. So yes, it's fine to transport your sleeping bag in its compression bag when you're off backpacking or what have you, but when you're not using it, you definitely want to keep it in its little storage case or storage net, as I say, whatever you want to call it, just so you can keep your sleeping bag nice and lofted and also ensure that you're protecting the down inside your sleeping bag. Now I've got the sleeping bag out the compression bag, I have to say it feels really good in the hand and it feels nice and soft on the skin. Now the outer fabric is made from a 20 denier nylon, and it is also water resistant, but it's not waterproof. So if you spill something on the sleeping bag or you get a bit of rain going onto the sleeping bag, the water will just simply run off. However, if you expose the sleeping bag to a lot of water, then eventually the water would penetrate the sleeping bag. Now this sleeping bag is also windproof and it's also breathable. Now what I really like about the sleeping bag, Naturehike class the sleeping bag as their hybrid design, because at the top by the head end of the sleeping bag you can see you've got this mummy design, and then at the bottom you've got sort of like a square foot box. Now they've designed it this way because they say if they have the mummy shape at the top, this is designed to be kept nice and close to you to keep the warm in. However, having the square foot box, that just gives you a little bit more room so you can move your feet around. Now with the sleeping bag, unfortunately you don't get a choice of a right or a left-sided zip. This only comes with a right-sided zip. I'll show you here. Now, what I do like about the zip, it is made by YKK, which are definitely one of the best zips on the market. A YKK zip is not only durable, but it's also an anti-snag zip. So when you're undoing the sleeping bag, it is nice and smooth, and it just doesn't catch on anything. Now at the top here as well, when you've zipped up your sleeping bag, you've just got this little Velcro flap that you put across there, and that just keeps your zip in place. Now when it comes to the mummy shaped hood, you do have a drawstring, so when you're in your sleeping bag, you can pull this drawstring and the hood will pull all the way around you, once again, to make you nice and comfortable, but also mainly to keep you nice and warm. Now, with the sleeping bag, what I really like is that apart from using it as a sleeping bag, you can also fully unzip the sleeping bag and you can use it as a quilt. You can either lie on top of it or you can use it as a quilt and pull it over the top of you. The other thing I really like is you have the option to have the zip so it's done sort of just midway. And what that does, it's lets you have the top of your body at the top, but also it keeps your feet free at the bottom. And it's designed that way so it will help regulate your body heat. When it comes to the insulation of the sleeping bag, it is a 700 gram duck down insulation with a 650 fill power. So this sleeping bag is definitely going to keep you nice and warm. I like that you get a neck baffle here, which has insulation in. So that's going to keep you nice and toasty warm and help keep any drafts out. But on the sleeping bag as well, you also get a baffle that runs just behind the side zip. So that's going to help eliminate any drafts or anything like that. Now with 700 grams of duck down, this will loft nicely. If you haven't used a duck down sleeping bag before, my advice is as soon as you get to camp and you've set up your tent or whatever you're doing, I would get your sleeping bag out straight away, lay it out and give it time just so the duck down can loft. It's also worth giving it a nice shake just to spread the down out so it can loft nice and easily. But as I've also mentioned, you know, it's so important to, when you're storing the sleeping bag, when you're not using it, to keep it in that storage case or storage net, so you are protecting the down, because as I said, if this down is compressed for too long, you can potentially damage the down. And then what would happen is if you opened up your sleeping bag and held it up to the light, you will start seeing patches through your sleeping bag, and those are basically cold patches. So yeah, suddenly your sleeping bag is no longer that efficient with keeping you warm. Right, let's talk a temperature rating. And now most sleeping bags out there have some form of temperature rating, and this one is just on the inside of the sleeping bag. Now I have to say, in most cases, I don't take temperature ratings on sleeping bags as gospel, because most companies don't fully test their sleeping bags. It's more of a calculated guess. Unless you're paying a few £100 for a very premium bag, Most bags, as I said, will just, the companies would have taken a calculated guess. So you have to use your common sense. Now, me personally, and this is just me, whenever I buy a sleeping bag, regardless of price, I always either add or I subtract 5 degrees, depending which rating I'm looking at, to give me a more accurate and realistic rating. There are other factors as well. Some people could sleep in a sleeping bag and say, oh, I was so hot in that sleeping bag. Other people can sleep in the sleeping bag and say, oh, I was freezing, but yet the temperature outside was exactly the same. Well, there are other factors. First of all, body temperature. Do you run hot or do you run cold? And secondly, how many clothes and what kind of clothes are you wearing inside your sleeping bag? So that's going to affect how you feel in a sleeping bag. But looking at the temperature ratings on this Naturehike CW700 4-season sleeping bag, they say that your comfort rating is minus 1.7 degrees Celsius. Your transition rating is minus 7.9 degrees Celsius. And your risk or extreme rating is minus 26.2 degrees Celsius. So that is the temperature rating that Naturehike are giving you. What I would say to you, though, is common sense prevails. As I say, factor in factors like, do you run hot? Do you run cold? Your body temperature, what clothes you're wearing, how many clothes you're wearing, etc., etc. And also, as I say, for me personally, I always sometimes add or subtract 5 degrees either way, depending which rating I'm looking at, to give myself a more accurate temperature rating. Right, let's talk size. Now, if you go for this sleeping bag in the medium size, the length will come in at 210 centimeters and the width will come in at 75 centimeters. If you go for the sleeping bag in the large size, the length will come in at 220 centimeters and the width will come in at 85 centimeters. So between the medium and the large size sleeping bag, there's a difference of 10 centimeters in the length and 10 centimeters in the width. Now, you might be saying to me, well, Richard, what size sleeping bag would you go for? Well, obviously, if you're a taller and a broader person, then you would naturally gravitate towards the larger sleeping bag. However, if you're a small person or a short person, I would still go for the larger sleeping bag. Well, first of all, an extra 10 centimeters in length and width is great. It's going to give you more room. Secondly, a bigger sleeping bag will help keep you warmer. And thirdly, the difference in weight between the medium and the large is only 240 grams. And for me, that's nothing. I know the purists out there that, you know, are ultralight all the way. They'll say, oh no, there's too much of a difference, forget it. That's fine. But 240 grams difference is really not a deal breaker for me. I mean, the way I see things is, you know, some people will say, oh, I'm going to take a one-person tent because it's 200 grams less than the two-person tent. However, when you see how much bigger the two-person tent is, for me, 200 grams is absolutely worth the extra weight. And with this sleeping bag, for an extra 240 grams, I would rather sacrifice something else, knowing I'm going to get an amazing sleep in this. I'm going to be nice and warm, I'm going to be comfortable, and I've got room to move. And lastly, don't forget, there is on an average only a £10 difference price-wise between the medium and the large. So I know what I'm doing. So my final impressions of this Naturehike CW700 4-season sleeping bag. First of all, I have to say I really like it. I think it's really well made and it also has some great features. I also feel that it is a real fair price for a 4-season sleeping bag, considering potentially how much you could spend on a 4-season sleeping bag. Now, there are a couple of things I'd like to see with the sleeping bag. First of all, I would like to see a choice of a left or a right-sided zip. And secondly, most importantly for me, is that I would like to see this sleeping bag arrive in its storage case, not in its compression bag, because as I said earlier, the longer a down sleeping bag is in a compression bag, the more likely there is that you could start damaging the down inside, and that in turn is then going to create cold spots. So yeah, a left and a right-sided zip, and the sleeping bag arrive in its storage case so it's nice and lofted and that the down insulation is protected. But other than that, as I say, really impressed with the sleeping bag. And I would say if you're looking for a budget 4-season sleeping bag that you can enjoy all year round, and don't forget, apart from a sleeping bag, you can also open this up and use it as a quilt, then I would definitely take a closer look at the sleeping bag. But listen, let me know what you think about this sleeping bag. But in saying all that, if you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And lastly, don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you can be notified every time I upload a new video. But until next time, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.